Today I want to discuss something that's a bit controversial in the trading space, and this is the issue of psychology. Now, a lot of retail traders believe that the reason why they're not profitable is because they have poor psychology. And when I say a lot of retail traders, that includes me about 4 or 5 months ago, but that is no longer the case, as now I am not only profitable, but I have realized that the reason why I was not profitable is not because of psychology. Before I head into this video, I want you to understand this. I am not trying to sell you a course. I don't sell any signal groups. I don't sell any mentorship. I'm not shilling to you any affiliate links. I don't care about any of that stuff. I am a regular trader sharing my journey and my experience, and this is what this video is about. I have no incentive to try to convince you otherwise. And if you are a break-even trader or an unprofitable trader, I want you to actually take into consideration what I am saying in this video and actually apply it to your trading, because I was once unprofitable. I was once break-even. I once thought that psychology was the reason why I was break even or unprofitable. And in this video, I'm going to actually give you a data-driven approach to fix this issue. So with that being said, let's get started. So on my screen here, you're looking at FX Replay, and this is a backtesting software. And this software is 100% the reason why in the past 4 months, I have been able to pass my FTMO challenge, get my first payout, get funded with FTMO, and get my second payout, and also get my first payout with FTMO. Recently, about a week ago or so, I got my first payout with FTMO. This software right here, FX Replay, and it is the topic of this video. This is the software that made me realize that psychology was not my problem. So let's get into the main topic of discussion. So a bit of my journey here. I spent 1 year being a break-even trader, and every single time I would make a mistake, I would say something like, if I could just fix my psychology, I would be profitable. And if you're an unprofitable trader or break-even trader, this may sound relatable. And I'm not here just talking. Here's my FTMO challenge account. I purchased this challenge on the 6th of November 2024. This is over a year ago. And you can see that for a year, up until October 16, I was literally break even. This is 1 year of being break even. This is 1 year of me saying, if I could just fix my psychology, I would be profitable. For 1 year in one single FTMO challenge, that was me, right? So I'm here actually sharing my journey, right? And I have the image right here as I showed you on the screen. And in October, everything changed. So if you look at my FTMO equity curve, you can see that in October, something flipped, something switched. Was this luck? Was it a situation where I was break even for a year and then I just got lucky in October and boom, just like that, I finally got funded? Well, we'll see, right? So in October, I passed my FTMO challenge after a year. I got my first prop firm payout. Then in December, I got funded with FTMO. Then I got my second prop firm payout. And then this year, 2026, I got my first prop firm payout from FTMO. And here is all my certificates. And if you look at the dates on these, you can see that it all happened after October. On October 16th, I passed my FTMO challenge. On October 23rd, I got my first prop firm payout. On December 17th, I got funded with FTMO. And on December 18th, I got my second prop firm payout. So what happened? Why was I break even for a whole year? And then in October, everything changed. This is why. So a lot of traders believe that they are not profitable because they have poor psychology. This was literally me. I want to make something clear. I'm not just here making random noise. This was me for a whole year saying I am not profitable because I have poor psychology. No, a lot of traders, they believe that if they just fix their psychology, they would start making money from the markets. They would start printing money. They would get rich and buy all the Lambos, vacations, and all that stuff. But the sad reality is most traders don't have an edge. So even if they did have good psychology, they would still be unprofitable or break even. And this creates what I call the dead loop. I want to read that again. The sad reality is most traders don't have an edge. So even if they did have good psychology, they would still be unprofitable or break even. After hearing that, if you are unprofitable or break even, I want you to really ask yourself the question, do I really have an edge? And if you have an edge, how do you know that? Are you saying that you have an edge because you've traded the live markets and you've made a few mistakes here and there? So you've revenge traded, you've experienced FOMO and over trading, and as a result you say, hey, I know that I have an edge. I know that if I was just disciplined, I would have made money. If that is your reason for saying that you have an edge, that is irrational and it is not logical. And if this is coming off as harsh, it should, because you need someone to be telling you this stuff, right? So if I go to my FX replay dashboard here, the reason I know that I have an edge is because I have backtested 1,500 trades. I've spent over 60 hours doing this, and I've backtested 14 years of historical data. This is why I think that I have an edge. I don't think that I have an edge because I've bought a prop firm challenge and I placed a few trades and I over traded here and there. I experienced FOMO here and there, and I knew that if I was just disciplined, I would have made money. That's not why I think I have an edge. I think I have an edge because of this data right here, right? So again, I want to read this one last time. The sad reality is most traders don't have an edge. So even if they did have good psychology, they would still be unprofitable or break even. And ask yourself that question, do I really have an edge? And how do you know that? So this creates what I call the dead loop. And if you're wondering what the dead loop is, this is basically what it is. So a trader uses a strategy with no edge nor clear rules. So they are using a strategy that statistically is guaranteed to lose money. It has negative expected value, right? They enter a drawdown or a losing streak. We know that most traders cannot handle losses. Most traders cannot handle losses. They cannot handle drawdowns. So once they enter this drawdown, they overtrade, they revenge trade, they experience FOMO, they over leverage and all of that stuff. Then they blame psychology. Then they continue use this strategy with no edge, no clear rules, enter a drawdown or a losing streak, and the process basically repeats itself, and it becomes what I call the dead loop, because you're literally in a dead loop. And this was me for 1 year. This equity curve with FTMO is literally the dead loop. Up, down, up, down, up, down, but it's just sideways. No progress is being made. You're not seeing a consistent equity graph to the upside. This is what the dead loop looks like. So if you're unprofitable or break even, I want you to genuinely consider if you have an edge in the markets. And the way that you determine that is by doing the hard work. It's by putting in hours and hours backtesting. It's by taking a large enough sample size, backtesting enough historical data to really determine if you have an edge, right? So this was me for 1 year. I was just in this never-ending loop. So while I was in the dead loop right here, where I was blaming my psychology and using a strategy with no edge, in September I decided that okay, I really need to test my strategy on historical data. And when I backtested my strategy on historical data, I realized that my strategy was barely profitable. the strategy that I was saying here, that I was the exact same strategy that I was using here, that I was blaming psychology and saying that I would be profitable if I just had good psychology. When I actually did the backtest with that exact same strategy, I realized that there was no edge. I realized that even if I had good psychology, I would make no money. But for a whole year, I convinced myself that I had an edge, and if I just fixed my psychology, I would be profitable, right? For a whole year, I convinced myself, and it took me 1 month in September of doing a backtest for me to realize that I had no edge. And then I developed a strategy in September, and in October, I implemented that in the live markets. Now, if I go to my spreadsheet right here, this is my 2025 return, right? You can see that here from January to September, I made a total of 2.23%. And you can actually see that from January to August, I made a total of 10%. So from January to August, I was doing okay, but I was still honestly a break-even trader, right? And then in September, I gave back everything and I was only up 2% in 9 months of trading. And then in October, I made 16% return. In November, I made 9.8%. In December, I made 7.52%, right? So what changed? How did I move from making 2% in the first 9 months of the year to then make 34% in the final 3 months of the year? This, my friend, is all because of backtesting. It's all because I realized that psychology was not my problem. I had no edge in the markets, and this is when I got my FX replay subscription, and I did hours upon hours upon hours of backtesting of finding an edge. I took a lot of trades, I backtested on a lot of historical data, and this is when everything changed. This is when everything flipped. This is when I passed my FTMO challenge after a year, got my first payout, got funded with FTMO, and got my second prop firm payout. It's when I realized that psychology was not my problem. I did the backtest, I did the hard work, and then I found an edge and implemented it in the markets. Now, the next thing, I made a tweet that said, I genuinely wonder how many people actually backtest. I thought my issue was psychology until I backtested and I saw my strategy was barely profitable. Once I focused on backtesting and building an edge, psychology took care of itself. Confidence comes from data. So what I'm basically saying here, remember, this was me. I had no edge. I entered a drawdown or a losing streak. I revenge trade, and then I blame psychology. Once I found an edge, the loop essentially become trading a strategy with an edge, entering a drawdown or a losing streak, and understanding that that's just a part of the journey, right? Continue trading, got out of that drawdown, got a payout, pass a challenge, use a strategy with an edge, enter a drawdown or something, get out of the drawdown, got a payout, got or pass a challenge. That's what the new cycle became. And when you backtest, you realize these stuff, right? So if I look at my trading strategy here and I head down to this section of the page, what you can see, if you look at 2023, you can see that between July to December, the strategy essentially was in a 6-month drawdown. So for a 6 month, this strategy that made 28% in 3 months, 12% in 3 months here, 12% in 3 months here, for 3 months, the strategy made no money. That is just statistics, right? If you have a strategy with, say, a 50% win rate, at some point in time, you're going to have a drawdown. We don't know how long, but it's just basic statistics. So if I am to trade right now and enter a 1%, a 2% drawdown, I will not be over trading. I will not be revenge trading. I won't be stressed out, because the backtest has shown me that drawdowns, they are not a flaw. They are just a feature. They happen. So when I inevitably enter a drawdown live trading, I'm not stressed out. I don't do anything crazy. I don't overtrade. There's no FOMO, because the backtest tells me everything that I need to know, and it gives me the confidence to execute my strategy dispassionately. So this is how I escaped this cycle, right? And again, I'm not selling you guys any course, right? So I want to make it clear that I'm not a course seller. I'm not a signal group seller. I don't offer mentorship. I'm just a regular normal trader, probably like yourself, watching this video, and I'm sharing what really clicked for me. Be very careful of anyone who tries to tell you that psychology is the reason why you're not profitable and they're selling you a course or a signal group. Because if someone convinces you that psychology is the reason why you're not profitable, when you're not making money, you're not going to blame the edge. You're just going to blame yourself, and that can be very dangerous. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that psychology is never the issue. Obviously, you can have an edge, but don't execute it with the right amount of psychology. What I'm saying is that for most people, psychology is not the case. I am someone who is very data dependent. I love to look at data. I'd say my trading journey, I started trading in 2024, and I am essentially now profitable, right? I think I can consider myself a profitable trader. And for me, I did not realize that I did not have an edge. So I can imagine for others that this may be the exact case, right? They are trading thinking that they have an edge, but really they don't, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about in this video, and the takeaway, some takeaway that you can get from this video. First of all, get an FX replay subscription. Now you can get a free trial from FTMO. This is not my affiliate link. This is FTMO's affiliate link. I'm not making any money from this. Matter of fact, go to FTMO yourself and click the link. So on FTMO, there's a section called tools and services. You click that and you see partnership deals. Here you can see FX replay. When you click redeem right here, it pops up a page right here where you can click try it for free for 5 days. So you can get FX replay, this software right here that I use to backtest, for 5 days for free, and then I think you'll probably have to pay or whatever, you know. And this is FTMO's partnership deal. If you have not done the hard work to genuinely see if you have an edge, I recommend using FX replay. The next thing is backtest your strategy, right? Whatever edge you think you have, create rules that you can actually backtest. Try to limit the amount of discretion that is involved in your trading, right? You want to have a strategy that says, if X happens, then I do Y. If X does not happen, I don't do anything. You know, just create a rules-based strategy and backtest that strategy. Get at least 100 trades, and this is the bare minimum. This does not guarantee an edge, nor does it guarantee that you do not have an edge. Because let's say, for example, this is my FX replay, right? Let's say I only backtested 2023, apply, right? If I only backtested 2023, what you can see here is in 2023, if this was just the only time that I backtested the strategy, you can see that I was in an 8% drawdown in 2023 in the final 6 months. So from July to December, the strategy made no money. If I only backtested at this point in time, I would think that the strategy had no edge, but obviously the strategy has an edge. It just had a really bad second half of 2023, right? So if I head back to here, you can see that the total trade is 119, the win rate is 36%, and the average reward is 1.33. so obviously this is not good. But that exact same strategy, if I select a different point in time, say 2022, the exact same strategy returned a 62% win rate over 55 trade and an average reward of 1.35, right? So something important to note, get at least 100 trades, and just because you take 100 trades does not mean that you have an edge, nor does it mean that you don't have an edge. It's just the bare minimum. It's just something for you to see, you know, to get a feel for your strategy. And once you do this, you may or may not see for yourself if psychology was truly your problem or not. So if you do the backtest, there's no emotions and it's a honest backtest. That's something that's important as well. Whenever you're backtesting, do not say, oh, I would have taken this. after the trade play out. That's hindsight bias. You want to trade as if it's actual live trading, where if you make a mistake and you lost money, just leave it at that. Do not go back in time and replay and then make money on a trade that you would have lost money on, right? You want the backtest to be honest, because if you lie in the backtest, you're just lying to yourself. You're not lying to the markets, you're not lying to me, you're not lying to anyone. You're just lying to yourself if you lie on the backtest. So have an honest backtest, and from this you can see if psychology was your problem or you actually have an edge. Now, once you have the data to prove that your strategy works, you will more than likely realize that psychology is no longer an issue. Well, this was the case for me. Everyone is different, but once I backtested my strategy and I saw the data, once I saw something like this, right? In 2022, if I was live trading this strategy from September to November, I would have made a 28% return. On a 100k account, that's like 25k in 3 months. When I see something like this, it gives me the confidence to execute my strategy. If I lose a trade, I understand that it's just part of the strategy, right? But when you don't have this data, there's just so much uncertainty. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what to do. And as a result, that's why you overtrade, over leverage, revenge trade, and there's a lot of FOMO. But when you do the backtest, it essentially gives you confidence that if you just continue doing what you do, you will see the money. But when you don't have the backtest, there's just a certain level of uncertainty that really fuels your indiscipline whenever you are trading. So that's just some piece of advice here. And this is really me just sharing my journey, my experience. I have no incentive in this video. I don't sell any courses. I don't sell any signal groups. I don't sell any mentorship. I don't have any affiliate links. This is me literally sharing my journey. And speaking of sharing my journey, you can head to my YouTube channel and I have my monthly performance playlist here that you can come to, and I share at the end of every single month. I share my trading performance, so you can actually just subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out this playlist right here, and at the end of every month you can see how I performed. You can also visit my website. If you want to contact me, you just click contact here and you can actually see my full journey as a trader. So I started trading on March 5th 2024, and you can see essentially the full journey from me starting out trading and just blowing prop firm accounts, blowing live accounts and all that stuff, to 2025 where I started getting payouts, really finding myself, finding my strategies and all of that stuff. So you can just head to the journey section of my website here if this is something that you're interested in. But yeah, that's about it. That's what I wanted to talk about today. Peace and trade safe.